Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another video. And I thought today what we'd focus on is XRP. I'm going to talk about XRP technically for this whole video, basically. I underscored a tweet the other day on a fundamental side for XRP and Ripple, talking about how Ripple's hidden road purchase is probably one of the biggest things we've seen in crypto. And I think that aligns very nicely with what may come next technically for XRP. We also yesterday saw that the SEC and Ripple officially filed to pause their appeals, and that was approved by the judge. And now we're just waiting for the official news to come out about the XRP or Ripple SEC case around XRP. So that's what I'm going to say about the fundamentals. So we're going to get into a few things here for XRP. Clearly what you can see here is the XRP chart on the monthly time frame, and this is the 2017 run here where we broke out of multi-year range. This range actually lasted for 1,155 days. We got the breakout, we continued, we consolidated and then continued higher. Yet this breakout that we've had for XRP is different. It looks different. Clearly, we've broken out of the range, the high that we highlighted here. Structurally, and then the reason I'm comparing these is because structurally they do look similar in some ways. But one thing that's important to note that a lot of people are maybe overlooking, I think, in the wider crypto community, maybe because of their bias towards XRP negatively, is that they're saying basically, oh, XRP could just be ranging like it was at this time. So we came up, we found a high, and then we just slowly bled out. However, we didn't break the previous swing high on this break here, and that obviously led to further consolidation before finding the strength to do that. This time, what we've actually done is broken out and consolidated above the recent swing high, which was the 2021. So the last bull cycle's high, where we had the issues with the SEC, etc. That's why I mentioned the SEC, because this time we haven't actually we haven't got the SEC weight hanging over us. So people are asking where I see realistic price targets, and nothing has really changed in that sense. My very easy price targets are fib retracements, which takes us out to $11 to $13. Really look. So that's 13 actually, 13 to 15, sorry. I thought it was 11 to 13, but $13 to $15. That takes us out to, as always said, my actual, if I was going to guess a number, it would be $13.33. So 13 to 15 will be a 4.236 extension, would be about $14.50. People say that's not possible. My PC is just frozen here, so let's just get me back over there. I don't know what's just happened. Let me just refresh my page. I don't know if that's affected the video or not. Hopefully it hasn't. But say, okay, for some reason it's taken me to the SPY, but we're going to get back to XRP because I'm not finished talking about price targets. These don't mean that that's where I'm waiting for to take profits. I will be taking profits before that. And one thing, a lot of people saying, or a lot of people watch blockchain backers videos, and he thinks $8 is like a key area of resistance, and he shows multiple reasons why, including market cap of XRP, etc. I don't use that as my price for my price projections. I think the relationship between Bitcoin and ETH is important to watch. I'm going to talk about the Bitcoin relationship in a minute and the ETH relationship in a minute too. Unfortunately, CoinTrader Pro's down. I was going to show you a chart on CoinTrader Pro, but it's not working right now. It may be cancelled because I couldn't find any pairs on there. But one thing I was going to show you is the increase that we have done from the previous high. So the high over here that was set in 2021 to the high that we've recently set was about 72%. If we make that same sort of increase again, oh, it's a bit more than that. It's 125% last time I measured it. But let's just see. 75%, okay. And if we get the same sort of break again, where would that take us from the all-time highs? Take us towards the $6 mark. So that's about one of the only real measures that I can personally see for why we could hit those sorts of price targets. Just like a measured move, additionally to what we've made above this range. But there's tons of different moves that we could assess to say how high we're going to go. So you could say that this is an indicator of a break. That would give us $42. If you take us off the logarithmic, we can do the same thing. Let's just have a look. So let me just show you off the log. Let's just delete that. Off the logarithmic, it gives us a more accurate read, obviously. So we go here to, so the logarithmic would say $42 if you broke it like that. If you go standard scale and you go for a break, you could even go to the top of the range, and that would take us to 5. That'd be the $6 mark again. Or if you take us to the previous high, and that would give us to the 670. So there are two ways where you could see lower price targets, and they're about the only two measures I know that he uses. Other things like the circulating supply, not circulating supply, like I said, market cap of XRP. And look, I think we're going to go higher than that, and I'm going to show you why. My base case is Bitcoin, I've always said, goes between 150 and 220,000 ish dollars. This cycle, I think my mid price target or lower end price target is about 180k, and I think XRP probably outperforms Bitcoin, and I think even if it goes to say 13-14% dominance, with Bitcoin at 180k, it puts XRP much higher than the $6, $7, $8 mark, because right now, look, XRP is at 4. I think minimum price target is XRP goes to like 14-ish% here. I think it probably hits into this range here. So say 14%. That's a 200% move from here against the market, and Bitcoin to do 100+% move from here as well. Probably towards 200. So say 150% for Bitcoin, putting Bitcoin at say around 200,000-ish. So 150% from this price for XRP is, where are we? What price are we exactly on? We're at $2.09. 150% will put us at $5, and then a doubling of that based on the dominance will put us at least $10, which is 100%-ish, not 100%, but like say 60-70% higher than the 550, 650 price target for XRP. So that puts us up towards the $10 plus area. And I say this is minimum target. I don't see why, with XRP being a leader in strength this cycle and the previous suppression, and I don't mean suppression as in manipulated suppression, I'm talking just about technical suppression from the last cycle. I don't see why we couldn't hit like a 20-30% dominance in crypto for XRP, even if it's a wick. The difference between 14 to 20% from this, so this would be 14% here, is huge. It's another 100% on top of the price, so that will put us at or 300% if we get towards the real top of the range at 20%, and we've hit 30% dominance before. And again, I don't think that's impossible. So let's just say price targets from that could put us anywhere between $10 and $30. And look, I'm not saying that we're going to go to $30. I said, and I think 13.33 was my target, but I also do think that I will undershoot the price target based on maybe emotional bias, because it will be a lot of capital, a lot of money for me. But yeah, so there's some technical reasons why I think we could go higher than people like I'm not dissing blockchain backer here, but people like blockchain backer expect. I'm going to just talk about one other thing before I get into short-term technicals for XRP, and this is Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance has previously in all alt seasons hit the 67.7 and between 68 and 74% level before alts start to see an outperformance. As you can clearly see, for the last, this is a monthly time frame, since December 22, Bitcoin has slowly gained dominance against the rest of the market. However, if we look at XRP, where if I can find the XRP against Bitcoin dominance, I'm going to show you why I think this is important. XRP for the last few months, let me just take my scribbles off this. XRP for the last 1, 2, 3 months. 3 months really, you could say 2.5 months, because you've cancelled some of that out in the last 3 months. But 2.5 months has gained substantially against Bitcoin, whilst Bitcoin dominance has been increasing, showing XRP is stronger than most of the market, even including Bitcoin, pretty much since July 21. If you bought XRP now, you'd be up on any purchase against Bitcoin since July 21. So even though Bitcoin has been outperforming the whole market since 2022, XRP has been outperforming Bitcoin to this point since 2021, showing us that XRP is significantly stronger than the rest of the market. So if Bitcoin does squeeze up to this 66% dominance mark or 67% dominance mark, other alts could bleed, yet XRP should continue to perform. And then when you see the rotation from Bitcoin into alts, if history repeats between that 68 and 74%, if we get there, that's when you should see XRP really take the lead, and you might get these crazy wicks for XRP dominance into these higher time frames these higher price targets than people expect, because of the fact that it's shown so much strength so far. And you, as a trader, if something's showing strength, you expect that strength to continue until it doesn't, because you trade the trend, and the trend here is that XRP is clearly strong versus everything else. So that's what you would be trading. You would expect that capital flow to flow into XRP from Bitcoin, and it would be one of the leading performers in the rest versus the rest of the market. That's just technical. So that's one of the big things that I really want to hammer home to everyone. That's also why I've been talking about XRP ETH, and look how strong XRP ETH looks if we take the drawings off as well. Fantastically strong. Yes, you could say it's in the overbought area. It has been for a while, but as we know in crypto, when we get into these overbought areas, that's when the parabolic price action happens. And we've been talking about this chop upwards as vertical accumulation, and I think that XRP continues to outperform ETH too. So if ETH is not performing well and the money needs to flow into a large L1 or another large cap, I think XRP is in a very good position to be receiving some of that, especially as the narrative has been extremely poor towards XRP for the last 6-7 years. I think some of that will unwind into positive narrative, and we maybe go too far the other way. These things often happen when you're too negative, then things obviously continue to be in a negative reinforcing cycle, and the same with the bullish. When things get too positive, they're like bullish reinforcing cycle, and they can go higher than people expect. So now getting into the shorter term price action, XRP liquidity, this is on the hourly time frame. What we can see is that there is liquidity down at 194, so I wouldn't be too surprised if we come down to this level depending on what Bitcoin does. I'm not saying that we will, I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if it does. However, we've got much deeper liquidity at 225 and up here at 233, so 80% of the time price action moves into these areas of deep liquidity, so I'd be expecting a move there. On the daily time frame, let's just take a look at this. Let's get rid of my drawings because they're just old drawings. What we can see on the daily time frame is there's very little liquidity below us. There's a tiny bit at 152, but essentially everything else is sitting above us here. Specifically 344, there's a lot of people in shorts there, all the way up to 380. So I do expect when we get this move back to the upside, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. When we get this move back to the upside, I do expect we move up to 380. That's what I'm saying. At least 380 based on liquidity alone. Finally, I'm just going to show you XRP open interest. I'm going to show you actually Bitcoin first, just so I can show you the difference. Again, I'm just going to get rid of my drawings. What you can see for Bitcoin is that there's still quite more people leaning long than short in terms of the funding rate, and the premium, yes, is negative. So basically, not too many people are long, but a slight bias towards long than short in Bitcoin, which is fine in terms of open interest. The market is often, markets generally are biased long slightly. However, with XRP, what we can see is we have a negative premium, and we also have a flip-flop in between the negative, between being negative in funding rates. And this suggests to me that if we start to get price closes above, like let's say 224 and maybe even 247, we'll start to see some squeezing of short positions, because people have been actively more short than long, probably since this $3 range. So that is when the digital asset stockpile was announced, and obviously we've not seen anything of that yet or since. But we should start to see some shorts being squeezed, because you can clearly see that people have net been more long than short during this time. So you would imagine there's short positions to be squeezed, and the liquidity pools that we've kind of just showed you there agree with that sort of thesis as well. So that's basically all I wanted to say to you guys. This isn't anything about like the immediate term particularly. What I've just tried to show you is the future for XRP looks strong. The future for XRP against the market looks strong and positive, no matter what anyone's saying. I understand when it's times like this and you're getting distracted, not you, but me included, getting distracted by tariffs and what's going on worldwide. It's very difficult to stay focused on what is true, and I've just shown you some speculations of mine, but based on what I think is true from what we've seen from markets and what we've seen historically and statistically. So I hope that that gives you some sort of clarity on XRP and as to what I think. Again, not financial advice and never is, but if you agree, great. If you don't, great. But just take my thoughts into consideration when you're thinking about XRP and what might come next in this market. So if you enjoyed the video, guys, please do subscribe, hit the like button, and share it with a friend. Let me know if you've got any questions in the comments section. It felt like it was a bit all over the place. I'm quite tired today, so I felt like my mind wasn't quite kicking into gear all the time with what I wanted to say. But I hope the message came across that, look, the fundamentals are there, the stats are there, statistically and historically speaking, everything is looking pretty good, specifically for XRP. And it's just whether you think that I'm right with the thesis of crypto going up, and if you think that's right, then if we look at technicals, that it should continue to perform better than other cryptos, even including Bitcoin, because the trend should potentially continue. We just need to get a little catalyst, break us out of this range, and I think the whole market will probably shift towards being bullish XRP, and that's when you'll start to think to yourself, oh, I was so clever, I was in the right position the whole time, and that's when you should probably start to take some chips off the table, because I think at some point you're going to hear everybody talking about XRP, not just in the crypto community, but probably in the random communities. I've always said to some of my friends and my dad, whatever, there's going to be a time when you're going to go into the local pub or speak to local people, and they're going to have been buying XRP. It's going to be like $4, $5, $6, maybe higher, maybe towards 10, and they're going to be saying, "Oh, look at XRP, it's so brilliant, blah blah blah," and they're going to be shilling to you why XRP is so good. And when those periods arise, remember this video and remember that's a time to be selling some XRP. They're going to think you're a complete idiot for selling, laugh you out the room, but who's been buying while they've been not buying and laughing you out of the room, essentially. So that's when you know it's time to take some chips off the table, even if the technicals haven't quite reached. It's a pretty good indicator to see things like that you need to start taking some profits. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, as I said, please do sub. Peace up, A-Town down, as Crypto Insight UK would say.